God, please give us a child.
Some children are born in hospitals. Some are born at home. But some children are born in destiny. Samuel was not born into a family. He was found. And the same people who once begged God for a child would one day become the reason that child cried himself to sleep. Chapter 1. A house too big for silence. Everyone admired Mr. and Mrs. Daniel Moore. They were wealthy, respected, powerful. Their house sat on a hill, shining like success itself. But inside that house lived something money could not fix. Loneliness. No children's laughter. No tiny shoes by the door. No bedtime prayers whispered by a small voice. Just silence. Grace more often stood by the window, watching other people's children run past their gate. Her heart ached. 15 years of marriage. 15 years of prayers. 15 years of waiting. No child. Grace prayed every day. She prayed in the morning. She prayed at night. She prayed until tears soaked her pillow. God, she whispered, even if it is one
God,
child,
even if it's
one.
just one child.
Doctors said nothing was wrong. Friends said nothing helpful. People whispered. But Daniel Moore never stopped holding his wife's hand. God knows, he always said. Grace nodded. But hope was growing tired.
Don't worry.
One rainy night, Daniel drove home late. The rain was heavy. The road was quiet. The river near the bridge was overflowing. Then he heard it. A cry. Weak. Small. Desperate. Daniel stopped the car. By the riverbank, under the rain, sat a basket. Inside was a baby boy. Cold. Alone. Crying for life. Daniel lifted the child. The baby stopped crying and stared at him. In that moment, Daniel felt something deep inside his chest. This child was not abandoned, he whispered. He was sent. Grace was not ready for what she saw. Daniel walked in holding a baby. For a moment, she thought her mind had finally broken. A child, she whispered. Daniel nodded. I found him by the river. Grace touched the baby's tiny hand. He held her finger. Grace fell to her knees and cried like a woman who had waited her whole life. That night, the silent house heard a baby cry for the first time. They named him Samuel. God has heard. Samuel grew fast. He laughed loudly. He smiled easily. He filled the house with life. Grace carried him everywhere. My miracle, she called him. Daniel smiled more than ever before. For 3 years, happiness lived freely in that house. Samuel did not know he was found. He only knew love. One morning,
Everything
Grace
looks
felt
good.
sick.
Just relax.
The doctor
Thank you,
smiled.
doctor.
You are pregnant.
You are
Grace
pregnant.
screamed. Daniel cried. Their prayers had finally been answered. Samuel clapped, not knowing why everyone was crying and laughing. Months later, Grace gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Lily. The house celebrated again. But something shifted quietly. Chapter 7. Love begins to divide. At first, Grace tried to love both children the same. But slowly, very slowly, her eyes followed Lily more. Her voice softened only for Lily. Her patience shortened with Samuel. Samuel noticed. But he said nothing. He tried harder. He behaved better. He studied more. He stayed quieter. Still, the distance grew. As Lily grew, Grace's heart changed. Samuel became a reminder of her waiting years. A reminder of pain. A reminder of a past she wanted to forget. He is not my blood, she began to think. Samuel felt the change. The hugs reduced. The smiles faded. The warmth disappeared. The same child once called miracle became a burden. One night, Grace shouted at Samuel for something Lily did. Samuel tried to explain. She didn't listen. She slapped him. Hard. Samuel stood still. No tears. That night, for the first time in his life, Samuel cried alone. And something inside him broke quietly. The same hands that once carried Samuel with joy would soon become the hands that pushed him away. Sometimes, the deepest wounds come not from strangers, but from the people who once called you family. Samuel was still very young when he understood something painful. Love had rules. When Lily cried, the house stopped. When Samuel cried, no one listened. When Lily broke a plate, it was an accident. When Samuel did, it was a punishment. At first, Samuel thought it was his fault. He tried to be better. He woke up early to clean. He helped Lily dress. He stayed quiet when guests came. Still, Grace's eyes never softened for him anymore. Chapter 2. The Smile That Disappeared. Samuel used to laugh freely. Now, he smiled only when he was sure it was safe. He watched his words. He watched his steps. He watched his emotions. A child should not live like that. But Samuel did. One afternoon, he brought home a drawing from school. "Mommy, I drew our family," he said. Grace glanced at it. "You wasted paper," she replied. Samuel folded the paper quietly and threw it away. That night, he cried into his pillow. Daniel noticed changes. Samuel became quieter. Grace became harsher. "Grace," Daniel warned one night, "Samuel is still our child." Grace snapped. "He is not my blood." The words fell like stones. Samuel heard them. That night, something inside him cracked deeper. Chapter 4. From Discipline to Hatred. Grace's anger grew with time. She blamed Samuel for small things. For noise. For mess. For Lily's mistakes. Sometimes, Daniel was not home. Those were the hardest days. Samuel learned to disappear into corners. He learned to be invisible. He learned silence. One evening, Lily's gold necklace went missing. Grace's eyes turned sharp. "Samuel," she called. He shook his head. "I didn't take it." She didn't listen. She slapped him. She beat him. The necklace was later found under Lily's bed. Grace said nothing. Samuel said nothing. But his heart learned something new. Love could hurt. That night, Samuel sat on his bed. He packed a small bag. One shirt. One book. One broken heart. He stood by the door for a long time. Waiting. No one came. Samuel opened the door quietly and stepped into the night. He did not look back. The streets were cold. Samuel slept under bridges. Behind shops. Beside quiet roads. Hunger became his friend. Fear became his teacher. But he did not steal. He did not beg. He worked small jobs. Cleaned stalls. Carried loads. He kept going to school secretly. Education became his light. Life was hard. Very hard. But Samuel learned something powerful. Pain did not have to destroy him. He studied under streetlights. Read borrowed books. Listened more than he spoke. Teachers noticed him. People helped quietly. The boy nobody wanted was becoming someone special. Years passed. Samuel grew taller, stronger, wiser. His heart was scarred, but not bitter. Every night, he whispered to himself, "My life has meaning." And destiny listened. When Samuel walked out of that big house, he did not know where he was going. But destiny knew. And sometimes, the road that looks like rejection is actually direction. The city looked different at night. Cold, hard, unfriendly. Samuel walked until his legs hurt. He stopped under a bridge and sat down. That night, hunger slept beside him. He wrapped his arms around himself and whispered, "Please God, don't forget me." The river nearby flowed quietly. The same river that once brought him life now watched him struggle to survive. Morning came. Samuel woke up weak. He looked at people passing by. No one noticed him. A child with no bag, no uniform, no parent. He carried water for shop owners, cleaned stalls, ran errands. Some people paid him. Some cheated him. But Samuel learned something important. To survive, he must keep moving. Chapter 3. School became his secret hope. Samuel did not stop going to school. He borrowed books, sat at the back, studied quietly. At night, he read under streetlights. Mosquitoes bit him. Rain soaked him. Still, he read. Education will save me, he told himself. One day, a teacher noticed him. You are very smart, she said. Samuel lowered his head. I just try, he replied. She began to help him secretly. Food sometimes. Books sometimes. Encouragement always. Samuel held onto those small kindnesses like gold. Life did not suddenly become easy. Some boys mocked him. River boy. Homeless. They pushed him. They laughed. Samuel walked away. He had cried enough tears in his life. Years passed. Samuel passed his exams with top results. A scholarship letter came. He read it again and again. Tears dropped on the paper. For the first time, life smiled at him. He packed his small bag again. But this time, he was not running. He was rising. Chapter 7. A New World, Old Scars. University life was different. Clean rooms. Full meals. Bright classrooms. But Samuel's heart was careful. He trusted slowly. He studied harder than everyone. Pain had trained him well. One night, Samuel stood alone and looked at the sky. I will succeed, he whispered. And when I do, I will never forget who I was. The stars listened. Success did not meet Samuel gently. It tested him. Because destiny does not reward pain. It first asks one question. Will you become bitter, or will you become better? University life was not easy, but Samuel stood out. He studied harder than everyone. He asked questions others were afraid to ask. He failed sometimes, but never quit. One day, his project won a big competition. People clapped. Samuel stood still, confused. For the first time in his life, people were clapping for him. That night, he did not sleep. He cried quietly. Opportunities followed. Small jobs, internships, paid projects. Samuel saved every coin. He remembered hunger too well to waste money. While others celebrated, Samuel planned. Pain had taught him discipline. As Samuel grew successful, something else grew too. Attention. People praised him, invited him, admired him. Some asked about his past. He answered softly. I was raised by life, he said. He refused to speak badly about anyone. That was his strength. Back in the big house, things were changing. Daniel was old. The business was failing. Grace was restless. Lily was proud and careless. One evening, Daniel heard a name on the news. Samuel Rivers. A young businessman. A philanthropist. A rising star. Daniel froze. Grace's heart stopped. That name, she whispered. Grace could not sleep. Memories haunted her. The slap. The shouting. The night Samuel left. What if it is him? She asked. Daniel said nothing. But deep down he knew. Samuel stood in his office one evening. He looked at the city lights. Success had come. But something was missing. Peace. His past was calling. He felt it. The river inside him was flowing again. A request came. A failing company. An old family name. Samuel read the documents. His hands shook. He recognized the address. It was their house. The house he once ran from. Samuel closed his eyes. He breathed deeply. This is why I survived, he whispered. Samuel agreed to the meeting. Not with anger. Not with pride. With purpose. The message sent was simple. I will come. The past held its breath. The future waited. Some returns are loud. Some are proud. But Samuel's return was quiet. Because destiny does not shout. It knocks. The big house on the hill stood the same. Same gate. Same walls. Same silence. But the people inside were not the same. Daniel sat slowly on his chair, older and weaker. Grace walked around restlessly, her heart beating fast. Lily scrolled on her phone, unaware of the storm coming. A black car stopped at the gate. Grace's heart nearly stopped. He's here, she whispered. Samuel stepped into the house. Tall, calm, well-dressed. But his eyes still carried the past. Daniel stood up slowly. For a moment, he forgot to breathe. My son, Daniel whispered. Samuel bowed his head. Sir, he replied respectfully. Grace stood frozen. Her legs shook. Samuel, she said softly. The name tasted heavy in her mouth. No one spoke for a long time. Memories filled the room. Samuel washing plates. Samuel crying quietly. Samuel walking out that door. Grace could not hold it anymore. She fell on her knees. I am sorry, she cried. I was cruel. I failed you. Samuel's heart beat fast. But his voice stayed calm. I was a child, he said gently. I only wanted love. Grace wept like a broken woman. Daniel spoke with a shaking voice. You don't owe us anything. Samuel nodded. I know. Grace looked up at him. Do you hate me? She asked. Samuel paused. He remembered hunger, cold nights, loneliness. Then he said the words that shocked everyone. No. Grace cried harder. I forgave you long ago, Samuel continued, because hate would have kept me small. Lily finally spoke. I thought you were lucky, she said. I didn't know. Samuel looked at her kindly. Pain hides well, he replied. Lily lowered her head. For the first time in her life, she felt ashamed. Samuel saved the business, paid the debts, restored the name, protected the workers. He did not ask for ownership. He did not ask for praise. Grace watched him quietly. This is the son I rejected, she whispered. Grace fell sick not long after. Very sick. Samuel stayed beside her bed. He fed her, read to her, held her hand. One night, Grace whispered, You were heaven's gift, and I pushed you away. Samuel smiled softly. You raised me once, he said. That mattered. Tears rolled down her face. Call me Mother, she begged. Samuel nodded. Mother. She smiled and rested. Daniel grew weaker too, but his heart was at peace. You became better than us, he told Samuel. Samuel replied, I became who pain trained me to be. Daniel smiled and passed peacefully. Samuel did not keep the wealth to himself. He built homes for abandoned children, schools for the poor, hope for the forgotten. He named it the River Child Foundation. No child is a mistake, he said. The world listened. One evening, Samuel stood by the river again, the same river where his life began. He smiled. I survived, he whispered, not because life was kind, but because destiny was faithful. Samuel stood before a hall of children and said, You may be rejected by people, but never by destiny. What you survive becomes your message. The children clapped, and the river flowed quietly. Forgiveness is stronger than revenge. Love misused still leaves seeds. Destiny does not forget the rejected. Pain can build kings and queens.